he's the one leading the Bible study. So tonight there's just a few things I want to point out. The pastor asked me to do this about 2 weeks ago, and I sought the Lord many days, and he kept throwing this up at me. Times are changing, and I thought it would be pretty simple, just go through the Bible, pick out a few people here and there that their lives were changed, and stand up here for 15 minutes and go home. But I don't think that's what he really wants me to do. But tonight we are going to start out. It's going to be times are changing. John, if you could put the first verse up there, please. In Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 126, it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So you see, we were made in God's image for a purpose. For a purpose. Adam was given everything the Lord had made, and still he was not obedient. So sometimes in life, what we have out there is not really what it should be, Sometimes we all have too much. The Lord dealt with me, that's why I got rid of my truck. Because the Lord says, John, you're using this truck for the wrong purpose. Although it was a very nice truck. But it was used for the wrong purpose. So even in Adam's time, the very beginning of time, Genesis 2:15 says, if you want to put that one up, John. And the Lord God took the man, and he put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Like I said, that was everything. That was everything the Lord had made, and he gave it to us. But in Genesis 3, verse 23, oh, that's where we're at. I'm sorry. Yeah. But even in the end of it, it says, Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden because of disobedience. But out of Adam and Eve came two children, Cain and Abel. Cain was the type of man that was of the earth. His religious, destitute of any adequate sense of sin, he thought there was no need for atonement. And this religion, or type of religion, is described in 2 Peter chapter 2. But there were false prophets among the people, even as there shall be false teachings among you, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and brought upon themselves swift destruction. The 7 things that Cain brought with him were, number 1, he worshipped, but in self-will. And he was angry with God, number 2. 3, Cain refused to bring a sin offering because he didn't need it. And number 4, he was even a murderer of his own brother. And when God asked him, he even lied to God. And as a result of that, he became a wanderer. Number 7, nevertheless, he was the object of divine solitude. Now, solitude means a state of living or being alone, separated from the Lord, separated from your family, separated from anything that you hold dear and near to you. Separated and unhappy loneliness. But whereas his brother Abel was a type of a spiritual man. His sacrifice, which was in the atoning blood, was shed. In Hebrews 9:22, it is said that almost all things are by the law purged with the blood. And without shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. This was therefore at once his confession of sin and the expression of his faith. He was in essence a substitute. Hebrews 11:4 says, by faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it being dead, yet speaketh. That's just a few examples of people and times that changed. In Acts chapter 9, verses 1 through 6, we have Saul, a persecutor of the Christians. We all know this story. He had his eyes, actually he was blinded on the road to Damascus. But then, in the end, he had his eyes opened. It says, in Saul, yet breathing out, threatening and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that he found his way. And like I said, we all know the story. And he went on to become Paul, one of the greatest apostles of all. So no matter what we do, God can still use you. Like I said, that was just a few of the things. In the books, in the Bible, you know, some people think they're just stories. But today we call these testimonies, which each one of us all have. If the Lord has touched you, if the Lord has saved you, even if the Lord hasn't saved you, you still have a testimony of what he didn't do for you. So now that we got that part out of the way, this is where the Lord said, John, these people know all that. They know everything that you brought up tonight. They've read it over and over and over. You see, when he told me times are changing, it wasn't necessarily for the people in the Bible. It was for each and every one of us here tonight. Times are changing. And if you guys don't mind, tonight I would like to tell you how the Lord changed me. Not that I compare to Saul or Paul or anybody, any of those people, but who knows, you know, I'm still a work in progress, as my mentor back there says. Yeah. So just bear with me a little bit, and we'll all get through this, and I'll get you all home quick and as possible. I was born in Mount Pleasant a while ago, not too long ago, 60 years ago. I was a number 5 child. There were 9 of us siblings, my mother and my father. And my father played in a country western band. My mother played country and western music. But they also took us to church every Sunday morning, to where I had to sit on the front pew and listen to everything that was said. And I would go home. My father would ask me, what did he say? What did it mean? Because my father was quite inquisitive. He knew the Lord. He walked with the Lord. But my father was a very, very hard worker. So come Friday evening, my father would stop at the house, give my mom his paycheck, except for a couple dollars, because my dad didn't need money. Like I said, he had a guitar, and he would go out to the bar, and he would go play music with his friends. You know, today you call it a jam session, whatever you want to call it, and they had a lot of fun. He'd maybe get home 1 o'clock, probably at the latest 1 o'clock in the morning, and he would bring his friends with him. So, of course, not only did my mother have to get up to make sure that they had breakfast, but most of the family got up also, because we'd all be out there singing songs. You know, it was just something that he did. And as I got older, I was more curious of what the difference was. Although I was still going to church every day, I got baptized when I was 12 years old, thinking, well, that will take care of that. I didn't know. You know, it was a church of the brethren. You know, I had no idea. I had no idea what saved meant. I had no idea what walking with the Lord meant. I mean, I know Bible verses. I know where to turn in a Bible for the answers. I thought I was doing good, but as you'll find out later in this testimony, I was totally wrong. But as I got older, my dad would come home and he would say, "John, why don't you come with me? I'll let you carry the guitar case." And to me, that was a big deal. Because, like I said, my father worked hard all week. He came home during the week and got something to eat and went straight to bed. Not much time for the kids. Not much time for the kids. Except Sundays, where, like I said, he'd question us on every little thing. So I took advantage of the offer. I would go out with him. I got to meet different people. I mean, a lot of different people. My mother and my father ended up going down to Nashville and cutting 8 different records. They were quite known in the area, and they were quite loved, not only by the church family but by the country musicians also, and of course the local bartenders, because if they knew he was coming into play, he would draw a crowd. And it was good for everybody. So as I got older, it got easier to sneak a drink here, sneak a drink there, you know. And nobody really cared. By the time I was probably 16, 17 years old, I could walk into the local bars and get anything that I wanted. And by the time I was 21, I was there. I was there before my father was there, because I knew his route. I knew he would be there soon. The only difference was I took it literally. Where my father could have a beer and keep it all night, I had a beer all night long. All night long. And that took me to the point where my father kind of disowned me toward the end, because he quit drinking and I didn't. My dad would always used to tell me, "John, do as I say, not as I do." And I could never understand that. Well, if it's good enough for you, why isn't it good enough for me? And that really bothered my father for a long, long time, because he thought by me going with him, he got me started doing it, which he really didn't. I had a choice. We all have a choice. Just like Adam and Eve, they had a choice. Cain and Abel, they had a choice. You know? So things got pretty bad real quick in my life. I was going with a girl for about 6 years. We decided to do the right thing and get married. It lasted 3 days. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. I went into the Army. I spent a lot of time overseas, and to me that was, some places was good, some places were bad. Toward the end, as I was getting out of the military over in Germany, the beer was good. The beer was good. I liked it. I came out of the military in 1986. I got into an accident that took one of my cousin's life, put my sister in a wheelchair, and put 876 stitches in my head. And to talk to some of the people that I didn't know at the time, came out to the ambulance. Seeing them later, they were really surprised that I was even alive, because actually I was dead. I was dead. And that was a life-changing moment, because times changed. I came home out of the hospital. I still wasn't done drinking. I had to go out a few more times, and Satan really threw the guilt on me then. And one evening, June 10th, 1990, I came home. I walked up to my parents' front door because I was living with them, because, drunks don't have no place to stay. I didn't care. I knocked on the door. My father says, "I don't know you." He literally disowned me. He slammed the door shut in my face. And at their house, there's a small walkway and about 6 steps going down into the yard, and then another 3 steps out to the driveway. I remember hitting the 6 steps at the bottom of the porch, flat on my face, laying there, and I just broke. I asked the Lord to forgive me, which He did. I asked the Lord to take the obsession of drugs and alcohol off of me, which He did. And I asked the Lord to use me, which He did. And before my father passed away, we did reconcile. We did get back together. My mother's still living, 90 years old. Most of my family have forgiven me, and the ones who hasn't, well, that's on them. I can only do my part. And I happened to meet my wife a few years later. We got married in 1994. And we were taking a ride on my Sportster one afternoon out around Avonmore, I believe it was, right? And we didn't get into a whole lot of arguments. But this was a good one. So I had to pull the bike over. I had to tell her, get off the back. We sat there on the guardrails discussing what God does and what God doesn't do. And it ended up, like I said, I didn't know much. I just knew the things that I was told growing up. Her coming from a Pentecostal background, her grandfather being a preacher, she kind of straightened me up there for a little bit. But we still have debates every once in a while. But So June 10th, 1990, I quit drinking. 1994, I got married. 1997, 1996, we quit smoking. There was a group that came down from Canada at our old church. They came in for revival. And the guy in charge, the MC, whatever you want to call him, he came up to me and he says, "John, I know what you're trying to do," and completely caught me off guard. Completely caught me off guard. I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You're trying to quit smoking, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." I had a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. You know, I wasn't trying to lie to anybody. He says, "How many cigarettes do you have?" I said, "I have two, one for myself and one for my wife on a ride home." We were living in Greensburg, and we drove to Mount Pleasant Church. He says, "Well, this is what I want you to do." He says, "I'm going to pray with you because the Lord has showed me something." He said, "Tonight when you guys leave, I want you to go out in the parking lot, light those up, throw the empty pack away, and wake up tomorrow morning and never smoke again." And that happened. And that happened because of faith. Because I believed that the Lord told the man what needed to be done. I don't know why. Well, the Lord told both of us too, but we didn't listen. We didn't listen. You know, we'd quit for a week or maybe a month and then pick it right back up. So it's been 15 years that I've been walking back with the Lord. It's been 23 years since I've become sober and drug-free. And September 16th, I'll have 19 years of marriage that has been all God, because He has to be the glue, because we are two completely different people at times. You know? But that is my testimony, and I believe this song will kind of put everything in the right order tonight. So if you would please, John, just sit back, close your eyes, and listen to the song.
Seems like all I could see was the struggle, haunted by ghosts that lived in my past, bound up in shackles of all my failures, wondering how long is this gonna last. Then you look at this prisoner and say to me, "Son, stop fighting a fight that's already been won." And I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
We are all changed.
I'm redeemed. All my life I have been called unworthy, named by the voice of my shame and regret. prosper. Child, lift up your head. I remember, oh God, you're not done with me yet. And I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. Now I'm not who I used to be, because I don't have to be the old man inside of me, 'cause his day is long dead and gone. Because I've got a new name, a new life, I'm not the same, and a hope that will carry me home. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain, 'cause I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. Now I'm not who I used to be. Oh God, I'm not who I used to be. Jesus, I'm not who I used to be. 'Cause I am redeemed.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the triumphs
Thank
shall
God,
sound, for the trumpet
redeemed.
shall sound, and the dead shall rise, and we will be changed.